Hello Nightingales, welcome to my channel, Nightingale Shadow and Light Tarot. Welcome to another deck of the week this week, guys and gals. I'm so excited to share this one because it is one of my favorite ones. And ironically, I don't use this one too often, but a lot of it is because, it just has a special place in my collection, and you'll know why in a bit. So yeah, this is the Beautiful Creatures Tarot, okay, second edition. And it is by J.R. Rivera and the artwork by the famous Jasmine Beckett Griffith. All right, so when I was a kid and a teenager, I grew up on Jasmine Beckett Griffith's artwork. I'm very familiar with this style with the big-eyed females, and it's just, nostalgic for me, which is, one of the key reasons why I was attracted to this deck, to hit that inner nostalgia. But for those of you who aren't familiar, this is her style. But J.R. Rivera, this is his second edition, and the deck itself comes in this larger box, and it is about $34.99 US standard new. You can get this online anywhere. You can get this in the store, in a metaphysical shop or a bookshop. It's easier to get it online as well. Amazon has it. I always like to support local businesses, so if a local business has it, I like to buy it through them. But the deck comes in this box with the book, and the book itself has this beautiful illustration style to it, and it's colored, which I always love when books are colored. This deck is reminiscent of, the union between two amazing people here who shared a similar path. I mean, Jasmine being a tarot oracle artist now, she didn't always used to be, but a lot of her artwork that she's had created throughout her career makes sense to be part of the tarot and the oracle world, right? Absolutely. So this is the box itself. This is the book. I'm going to kind of just set this aside so that you guys can see the cards themselves. Oh, let me just make sure it doesn't fall. So first and foremost, if you're a huge fan of her art, this deck is always worth getting in your collection. The other thing I love about this deck is the purple border, and it has this beautiful purple black look, which I love. The two colors together, they're amazing. I always love black and gold and black and purple, black and red when they're together. So it immediately caught my attention as well with that, with that being the case. And I've used this deck a few times, so it's already starting to get a little scuffed, but it's fine. It means it's being used. All right, so the size of the deck itself, the stock, it's a little bit larger than my hand, but it's not too large. I can still shuffle it this way and do the cards that way. So it's actually a really nice size for me. It, could be a little bit smaller to make it ideal, but, it works for me, okay? And I still always shuffle the deck sideways. Now let's see. What is the next thing? Oh yes, the cardstock. I always forget about the cardstock. The cardstock itself, it's a little bit on the thicker side, but to be honest, it works for me. It's not super thin, so the cards aren't always flying out. The finish itself has a matte finish, which is lovely, and it's a little bit glossed, so it's a little bit easier than a typical matted cardstock to shuffle. Now, I'm the type of reader where I allow jumpers to jump out of the deck. So when the cards jump out, this is one of those decks where it's easy. It does it pretty easily, and it doesn't get stuck, which I hate. So let's get started on pulling the images. Now, I'm going to say this is definitely more feminine oriented. There's no masculine depictions in this deck. And some of the images, they work well with the card, but I'm going to be honest, because that's the type of videos these are. Sometimes the pictures don't really depict the card meaning. I can tell they tried as best they could, but, you're not going to see the traditional, for example, the Hierophant, you're not going to see the traditional priest-looking figure, which honestly I like. That you're not seeing the traditional. And if you're in the mood for something a little different than the traditional tarot, then this is a the perfect deck for you. I also love the little bit of eclectic theme they have going on here. You know, Shakti. So yeah, there's really no masculine depictions in the deck. This is a great deck for, you know, your young teens as well. And it's kind of, I like to call kid friendly, because the typical cards aren't, you know, the typical cards that are considered darker, like the Death card and the Devil card, they actually don't exist in this deck. So this, for example, is typically the Death card, but it's actually depicted as the Transformation, which is more accurate to the energy of the Death card. Temperance. So it is kid friendly, teen friendly, adult friendly, good for all ages. I mean, if your child understands how the tarot works, of course. But the artwork itself, you guys, you can see it's just absolutely stunning, as is all of Jasmine's work. And again, I love the eclectic style, so not all like pure white, but also you're seeing some of that blue that's typically depicted in Hindu religion, with the blue god and goddesses, and then you have the tan. So it's just lovely for all skin types. I know it's important for me to express, because I know some people, they're very niched. They don't like things to be heavily Caucasian, and unfortunately a lot of decks out there are. Fortunately, the more modern the deck is, the more eclectic it becomes, which I love. And this deck in particular has 2 extra arcanas. So you are the one, authenticity, and the paranormal. So you have extra arcana cards, not just the traditional major arcana. And now we're just getting into the wands. So again, when I think of the wands, I don't really think of it like this. So like I said before, the pictures, they kind of depict the card meaning. Fortunately, you can see what the card is. Like I look at that and I don't think 4 of Wands, but it's a cute picture. And honestly, this is another one of those decks, and I call this a tarot oracle style deck, meaning that you don't necessarily have to have a huge spread of the cards. Each card does a wonderful job embodying the message, so you can use this like an oracle deck. And I have used it many times as an oracle deck. But overall, the one word keyword here kind of summarizes, you know, the overall meaning and message of the card, which I actually love, because for example, the 9 of Wands, you know, it's kind of hard to explain the 9 of Wands, so I love that they explained it as a summary of it's just stamina, enduring the final stages of what you're going through. Yeah, 10 of Wands, hardship. So I love that they kind of dumb it down a little bit for people like me that, you know, sometimes likes things a little bit more simple. Okay. And now we're in the sweets. King of Wands. So again, not really depicting the true essence of the card per se. You really have to kind of rely on the words. But again, the images are cute. And they're a bit dark, a little dark, as Jasmine's images usually are. But, you know, they're so beautiful. I love this one with the clocks, the melted clocks. So in winter, I use this deck particularly, guys, for general collective readings. I've also used it for love readings. I've never actually used it for career, money and career, although I can definitely see that being used. You know, this is one of those general collective type decks. You can really use it for anything. But for me, I mostly have used it as a general collective type of reading. So whatever comes through for the person I'm reading, that is what I will use it for. And I also love the different time periods in the artwork. That's adorable. Different time periods, different realms. You know, Jasmine's artwork just goes all over the spectrum. So this is definitely, if you don't use this for anything other than a collectible deck, you know, use it to just add to your collection because it's adorable. If you're a lover of the art, the artist, which I am. And the book itself, he does a wonderful job explaining the cards. And I believe he sticks true to the tarot meanings. So definitely read that book to get a better idea of the tarot, especially if you're new to the tarot. Great beginner deck too, nothing crazy. I will say, I do love how some of the suites, you'll notice this is a King of Cups, which is card of the water signs, predominantly Scorpio. So I love that they add more of that astrological aspect to it. For the suites anyway. So that's really good. Because each element, like fire, earth, air, and water, is tied to a suite. So the water being tied to the cups, fire being tied to the wands, and so on. So yeah, that one kind of reminds me of Christina Ricci. Christina Ricci. So general collective type of readings, a great deck to just have in your collection if you're a lover of the tarot and lover of Jasmine Beckett Griffith's art. You can just have this on display, really. It's amazing. Yeah. Oh yeah, here's the Queen of Swords with the Libra. Card of Libra. And the card of Aquarius, King of Swords. So that's what I'm talking about. Anyway, guys, this is the Beautiful Creatures Tarot. Absolutely amazing deck. In terms of its overall energy, I forgot to mention, it is very positive. I have a very mystical inner child vibe energy to the deck. It's very whimsical. I don't get any kind of like shadow work aspects from it, although you could use this as a shadow deck as well, to be honest. It just has all those aspects of it, which is what makes this deck also amazing. So yeah, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please feel free to hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't yet. I hope you have a great rest of your day.